guys see my screen?
Yes, my dear. We can see your screen. Yeah. This is our cute little girl whom you can see. This was her first day when she came to us. ये कभी है फर्स्ट डे नहीं है ना शाइन दिस इज our last
And
day.
this is
Last day.
this is in November, no, October,
Yeah.
October.
Hmm.
Before going back.
So what is it that you'll observe in her?
Please write in the comment box.
So what did you all see in her? Khushbu Sangraka is writing impaired trunk control. Any more observations? Only that much? No more observations coming in?
Wide base of support, stuck pelvis.
Okay, white base, low tone, low tone. Interested in thanks. Jasneet is going to get a chocolate from me. First person who gave me what I want. So whenever you're observing any kid, before it's a rule which I follow. I'm just sharing that rule with you, and it'll lead to a lot of successes. So rather than looking at jumping into impairments, see what the child is doing, can do, cannot do, can do, cannot do in terms of her participation. Okay, just try to observe that and then relate it to what impairments you're seeing. So at the back of the mind, your scientific mind is saying, oh, she has low tone, oh, she has a broad base, oh, she's doing that. But what is she doing? She's interested in toys. Very good observation. What did she do with the toy? How old was she, Shine here? 2 years. Two. 22 something months or 2 years. Yeah, she had just finished her birthday.
2.4 around. Ma'am,
Yeah.
her birthday comes in May.
So she's 2.4, and she was holding the ball very close to her body. Very good observation, Shraddha Patil. Very, very good observation. Excellent observation. What else? All are quiet.
Mouthing also she did once.
Purva, you're from my side. Wait, don't jump. Yeah, she put the toys into mouth, which was a very good observation. So she held the ball very close to her body, especially when she started moving. She put the toy in her mouth. What else did she do? Should I pick up people to say Sukanya? You'll want to see the video just once more?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. You all please be observant. Henceforth, we are not going to repeat videos because we have a lecture to go with.
Should I play?
Yes, madam. So halt it there. Just halt it there. You could hear in the background the father saying, What is that? Okay. So did she even respond to him? She did not respond to him.
There's a little bit of behavior also which we want to show. Put and show it to us. Yeah. I'm not really. Some registration part, I can say she notices.
She lost interest also easily in that toy.
Yes, not this was not right. She explored the environment. It's better than before. Environment. She's more confident. Yes. Yeah.
So what happened here? What happened here?
Was that sort of a jerk or something? Like,
What else do you
She did
think
not
can this?
know the depth of the mat that she had to
or he was
cross,
Okay.
and
Come up.
so she lost balance.
So that was a, yeah, that was a seizure. That was a seizure, and that was the longest seizure she had during her stay with us in the last 6 months. What she has been with us, she came to us from a neurophysician, and she had come to us with a delay in her milestones. She had come to us with imbalance. She had come to us with query ASD type features, not looking, not even one more observation. I think most of you all missed this, all of you all rather. She went to the mirror and she did not register herself. Any child who is typical of 2 years would have said, "Hi, hello, I'm there." And she didn't do it. She just walked past and she went to the ball pool. She was just progressing without a goal, isn't it? You could not see her picking up toys with a purpose. Her father said also, he asked her, but she cared a damn. So she was sort of in her own environment. So can you think, do her facial features suggest, since our topic is genetics today, and it is a very interesting topic because we have seen a lot of kids who are coming to us now falling into brackets, okay, which we used to never see. Yeah, she didn't register much. I completely am there with you, Vishaka. She didn't register at all. So I would say her the comment what you put before that, that she was not interested in whatever she was doing. She was just playing randomly with the toys. Okay, that is something which is very important. So her short history, which I have, is she was born with a non-consanguineous marriage. She presented with a clinical indication of small head drops, which used to come in clusters. Okay, she used to have clusters of head drops. Head drops means head drops, not drops. This is the first time she showed us dropping down. So she had head drops, and there was a history of convulsion after 10 days of the MMR vaccination given to her. That was the first time she showed a convulsion. Till that time, according to the parents, she was typical. The EEG then taken showed generalized epileptic activity. Okay. So then they came here and they were with us. They were undergoing lot of tests. And finally, she came to be KCNTZ minus negative. That is, intonation is exon 24. And she's a variation of C 2.72. So that is what she is. Okay. So when I read the description, whoever has put it,
Please mute yourselves, okay?
I want to see your faces but not hear your voices. I would love to see your faces because I feel I'm talking to humans and not blank spaces. It's very difficult to talk to blank faces. So heterogeneous missense variation in exon 24 of KCNT22 gene is what she had. Okay, so what is it? It is early infantile epileptic encephalopathy. That is what it is. It is caused by heterogeneous mutation in the gene which I mentioned. This disorder is characterized by frequent tonic seizures or spasms beginning in infancy with a specific EEG finding of suppression of burst patterns characterized by high voltage bursts alternating with almost flat suppression phases. So the EEG, what is seen is very characteristically described here. Almost 75% of these patients progress to what we all know as Hips arrhythmia or West syndrome. So Hips arrhythmia or West syndrome is a separate entity. This is a separate entity, but these kids can progress to becoming West syndrome, which is characterized by tonic spasms with clustering, which arrests the psychomotor development, and it shows Hips arrhythmia on the EEG. So that is what she is. Now looking at her, she's very cute. She doesn't have very coarse dysmorphic features. She didn't have a great delay in development. She had a delay. Somewhere she was delayed. She was walking, but she was walking with a very cerebellar type of gait. She used to fall. She used to have frequent falls. She had a lot of her affect was very flat. She used to mouth a lot. She had a very stubborn behavior. When she came, she was not doing what she was doing. Even her body awareness was not very great. So the work which was put in by Shaheen in the last few months really gave her that capacity and that opportunity to work today where she is. And she's gone back to Middle East from where she came from, but she continues her online sessions with us. Her brother also had low tone. He came to us just on the last day before they left. Does not have convulsions. He has flat feet and he locks his joints. So there is a hypotonia or low tone which is running in the family. Okay, we can't explain that. So more testing has not yet been done, but the gene testing what is done is shown this. So coming to today's topic, which is very interesting, and I really thank Purva for suggesting this. It was her initiative that we decided to go ahead with genetics. And I said, Purva, genetics mein kya baat karenge? I'll have to call Anaita ma'am. But yes, when we went through it, we felt that there is a lot to share with all of you all. And that's the reason we took up this topic. Who is this joining late? Amreen. Amreen, you missed a wonderful case discussion what we had. You
Ma'am,
can
I
take
heard
it
the
from.
last. Ma'am, I heard the last part. I'm sorry, ma'am. I was in a lecture in college.
Okay, no problem. Welcome. So that's what we discussed. And first, we thought it will be only one talk. As usual, we said we'll finish it in one session. There's not much, but very frankly speaking, when we went through it, we found a lot of material which we can share with all of you. And that's the reason, again, this topic is going to be split in two parts. We are covering a part one today and part one in the next Learning Wednesday. So having said that, we can start with the presentation. Dr. Mihika. Or you want me to share it?
Yeah, ma'am, please.
Okay, give me a second. I bounce off with Google Slides. That is my problem. I got it.
Ma'am, if it is getting difficult, I'll do that.
No, don't worry. Let me learn. Let me learn. Okay, there you go. Hey, why is it saying leave meeting? Share screen. Share. Okay, can you all see it? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So just a minute. I think it's loading, and there it's loaded. And view. So let us understand why this has become important. Okay, when we started again in the year 1990s, it was not very. It was just creeping in. We only knew Down syndrome. That was the only syndrome we knew that time. We knew West syndrome, definitely. So two syndromes I knew in my Vadia days was, one was Downs, because that was very commonly seen by us as therapists who were they used to get referred to us very commonly. And the second one was the West syndrome, because I happened to be in Vadia hospital, and then started coming in a lot of syndromes and entities, and a lot of things started happening in 1995, 96. So when we went through the whole literature, there's a lovely quotation what we got yesterday. An instruction manual isn't worth much until someone reads it. The same goes for your genome. The letters of your genome combine in different ways to spell out very specific instructions. You can see that cute little cartoon saying, I need to use the phone to ring for help to understand the contract so that I can buy the phone. Imagine. So, so that's the way it is. Most of the times we don't read, we don't look at what is happening, and syndromes are such things which tell, there are signs which tell you that the kid is syndromic, or the kid has something which is happening behind or simmering behind her or him. So what is your genome, as we call it? Your genome is the operating manual. You get an operating manual with your refrigerator, with your computer, with any device what you get with your mobile. You get an operating manual, right? So your genome is an operating manual of your body. It contains all the instructions that have helped develop from a single cell into the person that you are today. It guides your growth, helps your organs to do their jobs, and repairs itself when it becomes damaged. And it's unique, and it is very unique to you. The more you know about your genome and how it works, the more you'll understand your health and make informed decisions, health decisions. Now, what does my genome look like? So we all know, we only know about DNA, right? RNA, DNA. So if all the DNA from a single human cell was stretched end to end, it would make a 6 foot long strand, like a TheraBand, comprising of 6 billion letter code. Imagine our IT guys would be really like horror struck. 6 billion letter code. It's hard to imagine how much that DNA can be packed into the cell's nucleus, which is so small that it can be seen only with a specialized microscope. The secret lies in the highly structured and tightly packed nature of this genome. Now, what are genomes? They're building blocks of your system. So, genomes are made of DNA, an extremely large molecule that all of us know it looks like a twisted ladder. We were exposed to it in our school days when we studied DNA, RNA, mitochondria, etc., etc. So, this iconic DNA is a double helix. It is read like a code. The code is made up of 4 types of chemical building blocks. Again, this is known to all of us, but just a revision because I'm sure we forget to look at simple basic things in life. Building blocks are ATCG, that is adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. Okay, I think this is school level work. The orders of the letters in this code allows the DNA to function in different ways. Remember, we used to put codes when the questions were asked, how does this go, what does this go with it? So all these are codes. The code changes slightly from person to person to help you make what you are. So very slight change, a very slight deletion causes a mutation. Now, coming to chromosomes. So, the DNA in the cell is not a single long molecule. It is divided into segments of uneven lengths. At certain points in the life cycle of the cell, these segments can be tightly packed bundles known as chromosomes. During one stage, the chromosomes appear to be X shaped. Every fungus, plant, animal has a set number of chromosomes. Humans, as we know, have 46 pairs of chromosomes. 46 chromosomes, that is 23 pairs. Gene. What is a gene? It is a segment of the DNA that provides the cell with instructions for making a specific protein, which then carries out a particular function in your body. All the humans have the same genes arranged in the same order, and more than 99.9% of your DNA sequence is identical to any other human. But still, we are different. We are all limited editions of who we are. On an average, a human gene will have 1 to 3 letters that differ from one person to another person. And these are the differences which are enough to make the change to change the shape and the function of the protein, how much protein is made, when it is made, and where it is made. So coming to genes and genetics, what does it affect? It affects your eyes, it affects your hair, and it affects your skin. Most importantly, variations in genome also influence your risk of developing diseases and your responses to medications. Genetics is a term that refers to the study of genes and their role in inheritance. In other words, the way that certain traits or conditions are passed down from one generation to another generation. Genetics involves scientific studies of genes and their effects. So that is your genes, genetics, very simply put for understanding. So very interestingly, we saw that how many genes are there in a human being. It is 21,000 genes, and in rice, 41,000 genes. That was an interesting piece of information we got. The role your parents play is the instructions necessary for you to grow through your lifetime are passed down definitely from your mother and father. Half your genome comes from your biological mother and half from your biological father, making you related to each but identical to neither of them. Okay, your biological parents' genes influence your traits like height, eye color, and disease risk that make you a unique person. Now, in further to say, after having said this, I would say that there are further studies which are now indicating, which mindfulness studies specifically and now heartfulness studies, that the amount of self introspection you do affects your genetics, and that is a field which is known as epigenetics. So when you're looking at the field of genetics, think of the field of epigenetics, wherein creating compassion, creating gratitude, creating an environment in which a person is feeling loved, and all of us are coming together as a community, that is community. That is what we look at the world which is future in future to come, so that we can all be intellectually and mentally stable. That is what the book which is written by Dr. Bruce Lipton, and if you go to his website, you will read this, that there is a lot which is happening, that we all should be having or using our human traits more and behave in a way that we can walk together. So, coming to our topic again, what is a syndrome? A syndrome is a recognizable complex of symptoms and physical findings which indicate a specific condition for which a direct cause is not necessarily understood. So, definitely, when you see kids like Downs, when you see someone who comes to you, there is something which is different. At least when I see a child or anyone who comes to me with delayed milestones, I always look at their eyes, their nose, their ears, their stature, their fingers, their the body, that is the trunk, the comparison of the legs, the hands, and the body torso. So, like for example, muffins, you will have unusually long hands. The child will come to you like as if he is having very long hands, and he'll be walking around like a thin, skinny person. You see a Klinefelter syndrome, that child looks different. So when you look at appearances as a therapist, you should be able to understand very well what is it that is different as opposed to typical development. Coming to causes of genetic diseases. A genetic disease is caused by a change in the DNA sequence. Some diseases are caused by mutations that are inherited from the parents and are present in an individual at birth, and other diseases are caused by acquired mutations in genes or group of genes that occur in a person's life. I think now Purva will carry on with this, because this
Yes,
is a
ma'am.
wonderful child whom we saw in Thana, and she will be better able to talk to you all about him.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible clear?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So let's first observe his video and hello.
Do you want the volume on?
No, he's just
No.
playing by himself. Yeah. So, any observations first? Let us see the video. You all can type in the chat box. Um, I want you all to observe, maybe guess his age, how old you all feel he is. Uh, um, Any observations about his age? 2.5. Okay. Okay, Vishakha is saying three. Three. Okay. So this is a little kid who came to us 1 month back. Three again. Okay. He came to us 1 month back with the concerns he is interested in toys. Yes. Which definitely he was not just 1 month back, but not so motivated. Yes. So I'll go a little in his history. So he came to us 1 month back with the concerns about definitely speech delay and an overweight issue. He was having weight issues. For which the mother approached the doctors, his pediatrician, and the neurologist, and hence the neurologist thought about. Yes, overweight. Yes, thought about why is he so overweight? Because his age is not around 3, he is just 2.3, 2.4 years old now. So when he came to us, when he went to the doctors 3 months back, he was just 2 years old, and he weighed almost 23 kgs. So this was the history with which the parents had gone. Of course, about his birth history, everything was good. He was naturally concepted child, but there was a little cord around neck. Hence, LSES was done. He weighed 3.2 kgs, and for 6 months of his life, he was a very good child. Yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah. So he was a very normally typically developing till 6 months of age. That's what his mother described. But then at the age of 6 to 7 months, he had few episodes of seizures, recurrent seizures for which medications were given, and later on he was again okay, but then again there was a recurrence of seizures, and he started to put on weight gain, a lot of weight gain. And after that, the neurologists thought about having a testing done for the genetics, and he came positive for the Soto syndrome, which we have seen for the first time. And the Soto syndrome affects 1 in 14,000 kids. That is what the uh, current data tells, and it is an autosomal dominant disorder, and it is affecting the PHF21A a- exon 8 location. So he was diagnosed as Soto syndrome. So let's go on to the clinical findings. In the Sotos, we see main clinical finding that there is a postnatal overgrowth, and especially excessive in the first 3 to 4 years of life, which was seen in him. Then the mean height is usually 2 to 3 years ahead of the peers during childhood. Affected infants and children usually experience a delay in achieving certain developmental milestones. So his gross motor milestones were on time, but still his speech and everything is on a delay. They may not begin to walk until approximately 15 to 17 months of age. Affected children may also experience difficulty performing certain tasks requiring his coordination, which he has. Fine motor skills, he has issues, and may demonstrate unusual clumsiness. So, set the case. Now, let's come to the types of genetic disorders. So, genes, as we discussed, are the building blocks of our heredity. They are passed from the parent to the child. They hold DNA, the instructions, as ma'am has described. Sometimes, but there is a mutation, a change in a gene or many genes. The mutation changes the gene's instructions for making a protein. So, the protein does not work properly or is missing entirely. This can cause a medical condition called the genetic disorder. You can inherit a gene mutation from one or both the parents. A mutation can also happen during your lifetime. These are the few examples which are known: the trisomy 21, Klinefelter's, Angelman's, Prader-Willi syndrome, the entities which we
Rudy
see.
chat.
Yes, Cry-do-chat,
Rudy chat is also very
common syndrome, which is seen currently, the Hunter's, uh,
tuberous sclerosis, we know.
tuberous, yes. Even osteogenesis imperfecta. There's Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, which we know. Fragile X is very commonly seen. Rets is commonly hemophilia also, and even the other disorders which are listed here. Now let's go to the
So, how many of
types.
you all
Yeah.
have seen any type of syndromes? Can you all tell us what type of syndromes you all have seen? Oh God, what is this? Remind me later. Hello, where is it gone?
Yeah, ma'am, it's there. It's there. The
I
same.
can't see it. Something happened to my laptop. Just give me a second. Stop share. So, you all please type what type of syndromes. Yeah, good.
DMDs, lot of Downs
Other
DMDs.
other than what you all have read here. I'll just check what's gone wrong with my drive and I'll reshare it. Dravitz, okay, Prader-Willi, Chandni, Wildevank,
Should Otohara,
Jobert syndrome,
Jobert
O'Hara
syndrome.
syndrome, Rett, Jobert's, Angelman, Sojourn Larson syndrome, Sojourn Larson. I think Vishaka and Komal are typing ek ki piche ek. Just let me see. So, how do you all know that? I mean, what is that? Can someone tell me a single feature or maybe some feature which they have found in, say, Prader-Willi? What is the salient feature of Prader-Willi? Quick. This is a quick question. Obesity. Yeah, they keep putting on a lot of weight. Very good. What is Sojan Larson? Komal? What is the feature of that syndrome? What you have seen? What is affected? Eyes, hair, skin. Which part is affected?
Skin.
Skin, scaly skin. So as we went through, the eyes, the hair, and the skin are affected. All the parts in Sojan Larson syndrome are affected. The eyes are very dry. It is dryness of the skin. So the eyes are affected. The hair is affected. The skin is scaly. The child has a lot of issues to do with hydration and requires a lot of help out there. So maybe that is one more syndrome which we can share with you all next time. Okay, there's some problem with my slides. I always keep saying this. Google Slides never agree with me. They don't like me. Okay. So
Can you
again
all see
here,
this?
is it? Yeah, we can see it. It is trisomy 21, typical age at diagnosis. There is craniofacial dysmorphism. Should I read it out to them or can you do it?
No, we can just share the link
Yeah.
with later.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see that the age at diagnosis is mentioned in the first column. What whether they have any facial dysmorphisms? Most of them have. They have musculoskeletal involvement. Most of them. Some of them don't, but many of them have it. Neuromuscular system involvement and tone. Most of these kids will come to you with hypotonia. Cardiopulmonary involvement is there in many of them. Prader-Willi has cardiac involvement, maybe primarily, but secondarily, which is caused by the excess of fat and causing a sort of a demand on the cardiovascular systems. Any other systemic involvement. So that's how you go. If the child is having some form of delayed milestones, does he have some form of dysmorphism? Is he structurally different than other typical kids who come to you? Is he showing low tone? Does he get tired very easily? Does he show some amount of endocrine system issues which can be seen? Are there any sleep problems which are seen? What are the sensory issues what the child has? What are the motor delays what the child has? See, motor delays, they may have altered development. So unlike kids who come to us with other with cerebral palsy or with other problems, these children come to us with an altered development pattern. So in all probability, they may walk maybe by 15 months or by 17 months or a little bit here and there. They may skip a milestone. But yes, you have to understand that any alteration in development also, we have to caution the parents, requires investigation. So they may have a cognitive delay, they may just come with sensory features, they may come with features of autism. Like we had one more child whom we'll share with you next time. She just came to us with non communication, but she had something to do with her eyes, her face, her hair, and her body, which made us feel that okay, there's something which is wrong. Sometimes they have webbed fingers, they may have something in the neck, they may have these spots on their body. The Crudy chat syndrome, or the cry do chat syndrome, as you all call it, is the cat cry. So when they talk, it is like a cat cry. The Angelman's kids, they always keep laughing, smiling. So that's known as a happy puppet syndrome. They have sleep disorders. They don't sleep at all. Some kids come to you with respiratory infections. Some, the osteogenesis imperfecta, come with multiple fractures. So these are various buckets of signs and symptoms which I can identify, and which we should as therapists, because they are there with us, right? Most of the kids are identified in early infancy. This is tuberous sclerosis. Again, if you see, tuberous sclerosis is more to do with seizures. Definitely, they have a lot of autism coming in there. They have a lot of skin lesions, which you see on their, the ones which are little swelling on their, the neurofibromatosis, as it is known as. That also could be seen, could be hand in hand with tuberous sclerosis. So they are tubers all over in their nerves and on the skin, tubers. So that is why it is tuberous sclerosis. Coming the next one, hand in hand with that, is neurofibromatosis, which have cafe au lait spots. You have brown spots. If you see brown spots on their back, you see brown spots on their legs, and you say sometimes it is a burn, but most of the times it says that there's something which is wrong inside. So investigate it. Or they have a vasculopathy. So you see this little hemangiomas sometimes kids come to us with. Many of the kids who have a web of these hemangiomas have a web of an hemangioma also in the brain, and that leads to seizures. So you have to understand any feature which is atypical, which is there predominantly in the development of the child. Hurler syndrome, I have seen only one. I have not seen a lot of Hurler syndrome. SMA, I think all of us know. Hemophilia, we had a special OPD in Vadia which was meant for hemophilia. Fragile X, lot of them, they come to us with delayed milestones, joint laxity, intellectual disability, failure to thrive, and they have signs of autism. I have not seen the last one, which is mentioned here, the Leishman syndrome, which is gouty arthritis, and the urogenital system, which is affected. I have not seen this one as yet in my span of practice. Okay, handing it over again to you.
Yes. Okay. So let's. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go on to the types of genetic disorders. There are three types of genetic disorders which we can see. One is the single gene disorders, where mutation affects one gene. That is, example is the sickle cell anemia. Next is the chromosomal disorders, where the chromosomes are affected, maybe a part or the whole chromosome, or it can be missing. And the third is the complex disorders, that is where there are mutations in two or more genes which are seen. Mostly, often, your lifestyle and environment also play a role in it. Now, let's go into a little detail about single gene disorders. In single gene disorders, there are three types which we'll see further. As I mentioned, it is a change in a single gene which causes the abnormality. The first type is the dominant one. So, in the dominant one, this means the abnormality occurs when only one of the genes from one parent is abnormal. If the parent has the disorder, there is 1 in 2 chance, that is a 50% chance of inheriting it. And the examples are the Marfan's and the
Achondroplasia. So
achondroplasia. I'm
achondroplasia
sorry, there was
is, so in achondroplasia, usually you see kids who are dwarfs, who are not increasing their heights. We have seen a couple of these cases in Vadia and even in practice here. So spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia, SED, of the
yes.
vertebrae is something what is associated with achondroplasia. So you have to again see if the child is coming to you with multiple musculoskeletal issues and delayed or impaired or atypical growth in the musculoskeletal system. Look at, and they're very sweet looking. Achondroplasia kids are very sweet to be with. They are very playful, cheerful. They have a smiley affect. Cognitively, they may be a little bit lower, but they do things. At least they can perform things. So they're not very kids who are not participative. They're participative kids. Marfan syndrome, they have long hands and feet. I mean, the hand expanse of the hands is very long. Cannot miss the Marfans.
Yes. Okay. Next one. So next we go to the from one is next is the recessive. In this, it means the abnormality only occurs when both the parents have a copy of the abnormal gene. If both the parents are carriers, a baby has 25% chance, that is 1 in 4, of having the disorder. Examples include the cystic fibrosis, sickle cell disease, which is commonly seen, and Tay-Sachs disease. Third is the X-linked disorder. In this, the disorder is determined by the genes of the X chromosome. Males are mainly affected, like the males will be affected and the females will always be the carriers. So the son will be affected, but the daughter will be a carrier. In again, there are two types in that. So in X-linked dominant inheritance, which we can see, affected son can the mother is affected as it is a X-linked disease. One affected son can be there, one affected daughter can be there. But in X-linked recessive, only one part of the mother's gene is affected. So it is the son who will be affected and one daughter who will be a carrier. Other two combinations, they will be normal. For example, the Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, which is again seen in most, it is commonly known, and hemophilia. Now let's come to the second broader type, that is the chromosomal abnormalities. In this, there are a lot of further types. So in chromosome abnormalities in the baby may be inherited from the parent or may occur with no family history as well. These are the most common types which we can see further. First is the aneuploid. In this means there are more or fewer chromosomes than the normal number. For example, the Down syndrome or trisomy 21, which is commonly known again, the Turner syndrome or even the Klinefelter syndrome. In Turner, So next is the deletion type. In this, there is a part of a chromosome which is missing or part of the DNA code which is missing. For example, the DiGeorge syndrome, that is a 22q11.2, which is not there. That is an example of a deletion abnormality in the chromosome. Next is the inversion. In this, when a chromosome breaks and the piece of it turns around and reattaches itself. Inversions can be seen in passed down into the families, but they may or may not cause birth defects. For common example of the inversion type is the chromosome 9 inversion, which is seen very commonly. Next is the ring type. In this, a ring chromosome is one where the ends are attached to itself to form a ring. Rings can be passed down in families. They again may or may not cause health problems. Again, in chromosome 14, a ring type of abnormality is noted in which epilepsy is a very common feature. Next is the translocation type. This is when a chromosome segment rearranges from one location to another location. It can happen either within the same chromosome or move to another chromosome. Again, in this, there are two types. First is the balanced translocation. This is when the DNA is equally exchanged between chromosomes. No DNA is lost or added. A parent with balanced translocation is healthy, but he or she may be at risk for passing on unbalanced chromosome to a child. The example of this is again a lot of X-linked disorders which are seen. Next is the Robertsonian translocation. In this, there is a balanced translocation in which one chromosome joins the end of the other chromosome. Usually the 14 to 21 translocation is very common. P to Q, that is a very common one. Last one is the mosaicism. In this is when a person has two or more set of chromosomes in his or her cells with different genetic materials. And the common ones are again Klinefelters and Downs, where there's an additional set of chromosomes which is not supposed to be there. Yes, I hand it over to ma'am again.
So, so I would like to mention here that we had in the last year, before 1 year back in Chembur, we had encountered a kid who had come. Two of them had come to us with a similar history and a similar presentation. So the kid who had come to us had low tone and cerebellar symptoms, frequent falls, very clumsy, had seizures. There was a slow deterioration of symptoms which I was seeing, and there's something in the child which I felt was not very right. So again, when I'm looking at development as a combination of a lot of factors put together, if we are seeing that the development is going down and not going up, that is one more area which you should say, okay, it has to ring bells into your head. Ki something is going wrong. So this particular child was, for me, it was a new entity, was Agarwal syndrome. So Agarwal syndrome, Indian Agarwal mega encephalic leukodystrophy. So this is something which we discovered was very specifically to a community in India, in Rajasthan, where this syndrome had was existing. And this community, quite a few of the kids, and there's a report, if you read online, of a 57-year-old woman whom Dr. Paresh Doshi has successfully surgically treated. And there is hope. There is definitely hope, but early diagnosis and taking the right steps forward is essential. As opposed to what you're seeing here in the slide is the Rett syndrome. My first exposure to Rett syndrome was a little beautiful girl who had come to me when she was round about 6 months of age with complaints of hypotonia, with delay in milestones, and very good effect. She went on to creeping, she went on to crawling, she went on to W sitting, and that's where the development started tapering off. So she had a normal prenatal and a perinatal history, very normal development in the first 6 months. She had a normal head circumference at birth, but after that, her head circumference started falling below the normal centiles. There was a loss of voluntary hand function between 6 months to 2 years, and then they start holding the hands and they start playing with the hands. That's what they start doing. Problems in communication or social interaction, regression of language and cognitive problems, and regression or impairment in movement. So that's how they come to you. So Rett's was first reported by Andrea Rett in 1960s. It gained interest after Hagberg et al. Reported on clinical features of Rett's in 1983. And I started working in 1988. So I saw my first Rett's in the year 1996. The mutation on MECP2 gene located on XQ28 was revealed to be the cause of Rett syndrome in 1999. So this child was further on. She was the first child, I think, whom we diagnosed as Rett's. I believe that maybe 1996 was when I started SNEA. So she may have come to me maybe a year after or something. She was my first patient. So she, after that, she started going into a home, Nasios in Chembur, where they put her in because it was very easy for the parents to, and they knew that Rett syndrome means there's going to be a bad prognosis, and they put her there. So that's what the parents have to understand, it that it's not the end all of everything in life. So patients with classical Rett syndrome have no specific problem in the course of birth and are known to undergo normal development for 6 months after birth. Recent studies reports decreased interaction with the environment. They have autism, they may be on a spectrum, reduced muscle tone. A study revealed that the patient's general movements are abnormal in the first 6 months of life. And this is what I would like to state. The kids who are going to have issues have a lot of signs, telltale signs in the first 6 months. Though the parents may be in denial, though the parents may say, nahi, sab kuch acha hai, the first 6 months, if the child has low movements or has movements which are not typical, that child should be either investigated or taken up for therapy. I'm a firm believer of that. The weight is usually appropriate for height, and the bone age is advanced mean by 2 to 4 years over chronological age during childhood. The craniofacial configuration is characteristic because there is a prominent forehead and receding forehead hairline in 96% of the patients. Dolio, dolichocephalic head, widely spaced eyes, that is, you see hypertelorism, down slanting of eyelids and folds, high narrow palate, pointed chin, narrow face, and a head shape that is similar to an inverted pear. I still remember my little one's name. She was Avantika and she was so cute, very sweet. She was just like a princess. So delay in attainment of milestones, clumsiness, low tone, lax joints, average IQ of 72. Some 15% may have normal intelligence. Seizures happen in 30% of those affected. 26% have never walked independently. Epilepsy is known to develop in 60 to 80% of Rett syndrome. There's a wonderful paper which we read, which was published in 2012. And if you all have the chance, please do go and read it. The most common musculoskeletal complication in Rett syndrome is scoliosis. So if you say Rett's, it is complete involvement with the hands, lot of orosensory oromotor problems, normal milestones in the first 6 months, going on to reduced head circumference and delay in milestones, seizures at times, and autism. Hello, yeah. So this is a child. I think she can talk about her, Danika. Um, Purva, do
Yes.
you want to speak about her?
Yeah. So Danika reported to us with all normal milestones in gross motor and fine motor, apparently, except for walking when she was 1.5 years old. She started walking at the age of 1.5 to 1.6 years of old. And then the regression started. Like she used to speak few words. She used to have a she's one of the twins. She has a twin brother who was typically developing. So now she's come with complaints of lot of mouthing continuously, as ma'am mentioned, hand into hand, continuously mingling with her hands, mouthing everything around, hyperventilation, which was there. And actually, ma'am, after she was not diagnosed when she came to us, ma'am suggested a test to be run for her, given her clinical pictures and clinical features, and she came up to be positive Rett's syndrome.
So as you can see her here, she is mouthing the toy. She is sort of everything goes into the mouth. She'll show you and then she'll try to put it as if she's showing it to you and giving it to you, and again it goes into the mouth. They lack a complete sense of body awareness. Complete sense of body awareness is lacking in them. Prop, tactile. They have a lot of sensory motor atypical development which goes on. The mouth is the primary source of exploration to them. You can see that here, what she's doing. And they hyperventilate. That is one of the very predominant or prominent feature of Rett syndrome, that they hyperventilate. Sorry. Coming to the third syndrome, which is the Dravid's. Do we have time or do we stop here, Mihika? Should we
I
stop here
think
and
we should
continue?
stop and
Yeah,
take the feedback.
yeah.
Yes. Okay.